Welcome to another episode of Silk Road Nexus Conversations. Today, I'm joined by someone I have had the privilege of working with very closely during our time at Wayfair, Hareesh Pattipati. He is now the head of product at Gaping. Harish is a technology and a product leader with more than 20 years of experience building core retail platforms across inventory, order management, orchestration, and vendor integrations. His work has driven transformational improvement at some of the largest retail organizations, including Wayfair, and currently at Gap Inc., where he now leads the agentic AI transformation. Retail, at its core, is a battle of demand capture and supply precision, bringing the right product to the right customer at the right time and price. These two levers of pricing and placement are the most complex strategic decisions in retail, driven by fluctuating demand signals, competitive dynamics, and deeply entangled operational constraints. Hey, Harish, thank you for joining. If before we get started, could you please introduce yourself to our audience? That will be great. And then from there on, we can start the conversation and deep dive into this topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Nikhil. First of all, thanks for having me on this podcast. I'm super excited. Happy Diwali. Hopefully, you had a good time celebrating last week. So super exciting time to be working in retail space. Before we get started, for a quick introduction, I've been in the industry for almost 15, 18 years, primarily focused on the product management side. I have done EMC, Oracle, like a B2B type of product management and also engineering side. And then most recently, I was at Wayfair, focused on the supply chain technologies. And then I recently joined Gap. On Gap, I'm actually focused mostly on the retail space of how do we make products available in this new channel, right? Especially the new channel is our AI chatbots are coming up, and then how do you make your infrastructure ready for this new agentic commerce is coming up. So those are the two areas that I'm focused on. My entire career spent primarily has been on the product management side. So it's super exciting to be at this stage in the retail because there's a lot of opportunity where we can use AI to solve some of uh, the thorny issues that's it's been bugging AI for retail for a while.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. No, thank you. Great experience. And again, thank you for being on the show. To kick it off, what you initially said, right? At Gap, you're working on ensuring that how do we integrate AI into the buying journey. And from there, if I had to start asking my first question, I would start it with, you know, from the point where customer journey actually started in a physical store at some point in time. Then it shifted towards search, online search with Google as the buying platform. Then so slowly we have shifted towards social, which is creating approximately 10 to 15% of traffic. And now the final transition, or I shouldn't say the final transition, but the upcoming transition is towards the AI and agentic AI, conversational AI, which is deeply personal to the customers and is able to identify the products that fit the exact customer needs. And with this changing behavior of customer journey that we have seen from stores to AI, how is Gap at the very beginning and the onset trying to reimagine? Because it has a lot of physical stores, it has great online presence, it is also on social media, and now with AI, how is that transition looking like from your side? What are some of the lessons that you are learning with AI? And then how do you think the customer perception is going to change when it comes to agentic AI related search, buying, and tracking in the future?
Yeah, so that's a loaded questions, Nikhil. So that's like the entire gap strategy from AI perspective, right? Yeah, definitely. Let's take one question at a time and try to answer that specifically for from gap perspective, and also what I have seen from a retail perspective as well. So Gap is all in with AI, meaning they're not the foundation is not like, oh, we're going to sprinkle AI here, we're going to sprinkle AI here. Oh, let's use the customer for the customer service, let's use AI here, right? So instead of sprinkling, we are deciding, or we have actually made the decision to integrate AI across the customer journey. That means all the way from brand discovery to personalization and to seamless commerce. So those are the three main big pillars that we're seeing, and then AI is going to be everywhere as part of that, right? So obviously, AI is a technology. We want to use that to make the experience for the customers much better. And at the same time, we want the employees within the Gap to be well advanced in terms of how to use the AI, how to be more productive. That tools are being given to these us to make sure that we can create that seamless experience for the customers, right? So that's the foundation piece that you can think of from a
Makes
Gap
sense.
perspective. So if you kind of take a step back and then see what are the areas here, are you reinventing with AI? Are you kind of optimizing with AI, etc.? So the way we are thinking about this is in three ways, right? First one is the enablement, like I was talking about. How do we enable our employees to make sure they have the best experience with the tools and they understand how to use the tools, etc. Right? So that's the enablement. There is a weekly sessions within company to make sure that every resource has access to AI and how do they use AI. So that's chatbots, right? One thing. The second thing is optimize. So the thing that we wanted to do from an optimization perspective is it's definitely going to be not there are a lot of legacy systems and processes in place, right? So we just don't want to rip and replace with AI. That's not gonna work initially. So we want to optimize the existing workflows. And then the third thing that we want to do is we want to take select areas and then completely reimagine with AI. So I can probably talk through some of the examples like product market fit, inventory optimization, where we place it, how do we do the designs within the for the product, etc. So we can talk about that. So that's the areas where we kind of reinventing completely. With optimization, we are using in the HR areas, marketing areas, legal areas, and obviously engineering side of things. How do we use AI to make our engineering more productive, etc. Right? So those are some of the things. Optimization from an enablement perspective. That's how we are spending a lot of time ensuring the teams actually have access to the tool that they need. So that's how we are kind of thinking about from a strategy standpoint. Let's go to these three different areas that we wanted to invest in.
Makes sense. And kind of
Yeah,
just double clicking on that one part where you said that, the starting point is the customer. You want to
yeah.
understand how it's going to impact the customer. Uh, what are your thoughts in terms of where is the customer experience broken today with the non-AI tools and how that experience is going to be fixed when AI is introduced? Uh, and how are you thinking about it in terms of product management as well when it comes to building products and scaling those products?
Yeah, for sure. So that's a great question, Nikhil. So the way we do, there are a couple of ways, and especially from a retail perspective, especially think about clothes, right? The way we do discover of the brands is completely changed, or it is changing in the sense that previously we go to Google and say, hey, what are the best jeans for teens or something like that, right? So you go and type it up, and then it gives you maybe 10 to 50 blue links, and you go and do your research and you click on it and say, okay, is this good? Is this not good? It gives you all kinds of brands, and then if you pay, if it's a paid brand, it kind of shows up at the top, right, from as a sponsor, etc. What's changing now is consumers are not going to, or I don't want to say not going to, but they are transitioning from the blue link into conversational shopping in the sense that they go to chatbot and say, what are the best blue jeans for teens under ages between 13 and 16 or something like that, right? So they kind of give you. What AI does is it doesn't give you the blue links. What it does is it tries to understand the context and then goes and does the research on behalf of the user and then provides a synthesized answer to the user along with the links, like a citation links that they provide to, right? So that also user has a confidence. Okay, this is where the source is coming from. This is the citation. If they want to click on it, they can go to the browser, etc. So that's how it is kind of changing. And of course, the other element is once the consumer understands, if in the previous world, they have to click on the blue link, they have to go to the site, they have to add it to the cart, and they have to check out, and they have to go through the entire experience of converting, right? So what chatbots now is obviously, as you have seen, Walmart and Open AI are uh, talked about a partnership. eBay and OpenAI talked about a partnership, right? So you want to enable the experience in the chatbot itself. Meaning, if you want to buy it, you can just make sure that experience is so seamless that you would say, okay, great, I like this product and I want to purchase it. And then it's almost like having a conversation with a person at the physical stores. Like that's how exactly what the conversation is going to happen in a chatbot right now. So that's the experience that I have seen changing from where traditionally how consumers do the purchase to the AI chatbots, right? So that's how we are evolving. From the personalization and fit perspective, that's a huge opportunity for, especially from an AI perspective, you're doing in the retail space. So typically, what do? You go to a store, right? You try it on, and then you like it, and you buy it, and then you come home, right? Or you go to a website and you look at the product and say you really like it, you buy it, and then it comes home, you try it, and then you don't like it, and then you return it,
Mm,
right? So
mm,
that's the experience that we do with what the Gap is doing now. They are introducing a couple of new features. One is first and foremost, it's a curated list of products that based off your interest. So meaning if you log into your profile or your account, it will help you, the AI will curate for you specifically. So in the past, it has been a tremendous amount of work that needs to be done by the merchandising team to say, hey, here is a person, here's a profile, curate those manually sometimes, right? So you can automate some of that, but it still takes a lot of time, and then kind of show it to the person. Even before you show it to the person, when you're curating, you need to understand the trends. Like, what is this trend in the social networking? What is the trend currently, so that you can actually show up in the curated list. With AI, it automates, it does all the background work for you, like what is the trends, in which, depending on the location, depending on the age, right? So it does all that analysis for you and curates it and presents it to you. So that is much easier effort on both Gap team and also for the consumers. When they log in, they actually see the more trend based curation for personalized for them. So that's one thing. The second is how it is changing is especially in the size and the fit. So that's one of the biggest challenge retail folks have, is that in the past what we used to do was we used to take pictures of a person, upload that into the system, and then there was a technology was not there to actually map it clearly between the product and then the image, and then it looks good on the computer when you look at it, and then when
mm,
it comes to you, when you wear it, it looks totally different, right?
mm,
So to minimize that, what we are trying to do is there is a new product that we launched. I think either launched or launching pretty soon. It's uh, it's based on, so it has two elements. One is it has the dimensions of the product, which are pretty accurate dimensions of the product, and it asks for like certain minimum information like age and then weight and then the height and few personal questions that will help them to map it to your size, and it can tell you it's getting very close to saying that this is how it fits you, and then so can you can actually feel comfortable that yeah, great, this product actually fits me and I want to make sure I want to buy it, and so that we want to obviously minimize returns, right? So that's one area that we're kind of focused on. The next area is the last one, which we're focused on, is there is a virtual try-on. So the virtual try-on is very similar to what we talked about earlier, which is we already have the technology, but with the AI, it is making this virtual try-on much more accurate in terms of based on it can take your 3D model and then it can actually show it to you in different angles and so forth. So it kind of makes it easier for user to envision them in that dress, right? So that's how things are changing from an AI perspective, what I have seen from the past to now. So those are the three areas: the discovery, how you do the actual purchasing of the product. The second is the curation piece. The third is the virtual fit, and then the try-ons piece.
makes sense. And I think that, uh, and I think it kind of leads to my next question, which I was curious to ask
Yeah,
because I've kind of understood fashion specifically is a big returns game, right? I mean, people usually buy 10, return 9, and keep one,
yeah,
based on how they perceive the products, and then the returns becomes a huge mess for specifically the fashion and the retail industry. What you just described is one of the key elements where you want to reduce the returns. But I also guess like it becomes the double-edged sword, right? Sometimes because if the person buys that specific one product from the website and once they try it on, they don't like it, do you think then it creates a negative perception of the brand in terms of probably I'm not going to go back there and buy and give specific instructions to the agent which says, hey, skip providing from this particular brand because I've tried it doesn't work? Or do you think that it would be something like customers try it, they return it, but they could return back again to buy another product from that
yeah.
perspective? Is it a double-edged sword from AI
For
perspective?
sure. It is a double-edged sword, and that's why we want to make sure that technology works for customers, and we want to make sure that it's accurate. Especially as you can imagine, Nikhil, the returns is a no-go, meaning it creates a very bad customer experience, right? So
Yes.
what we want to do is we want to make sure this new technology that what we are launching actually helps the customer, not kind of goes back into the previous behavior. I mean, obviously we are doing even the returns we are doing it now, right? So imagine how much we actually get today and then how much we actually return. Uh, Obviously, that's a baseline, and then we wanted to reduce that returns using this new technology. So I I'm very confident that based on the new technology that we have, especially in the AI space and the retail and the virtual try-ons and personalization and the fit, it will reduce those returns, meaning it gets closer to what customers are expecting.
Expect.
What they
Yeah.
see on the screen plus what they actually wear is going to be much more. We're going to close the gap so that it reduces the returns. So we have to spend a lot of time ensuring that technology works, make sure that we have to do a lot of A/B testing and make sure that it is actually helping the customers and not actually generating, we're not regressing, right? So that's the focus area for us.
Yeah. And continuing from that
Yeah,
particular aspect of like search as well, right? I mean, the starting point of a user journey, when we look at removing physical stores aside, but other three channels of selling, which is online search, social media, or agentic AI, conversational AI now, the starting point of customer search is going to be very different. Uh, with online search, there are multiple brands that can place their ads, become sponsored, or be in the top 10 links where you can click and go there. Uh, with social, obviously, it's a trend mechanism. If your reel is a hit, customers will find it, they will go to your platform, try to buy that product. With conversational AI, the user starting point, which is where do the users start to search? Is it either going to be the browser, which is AI browsers such as Atlas or Comet from Perplexity or OpenAI, or it's going to be the app itself, which is, let's say, Gap in this particular case, or Amazon for any other product. So, do you think the user starting point will matter a lot? Because at some point in time, if conversational AI becomes the future, every brand would want to, let's say, SEO it for those conversational AIs? Or do you think the user journey will always start from the particular brand itself, and then brands will basically have back-end partnerships with multiple LLM organizations like OpenAI or Anthropic or any other company for that matter of fact?
yeah. So what we're seeing now is the conversations, especially the traditional browse is still dominant, meaning 95%, even probably even 95, 98% is still coming from traditional browse.
Search, yeah,
That's
yeah,
where the users are starting from. With that said, we are seeing a significant increase where the AI search is picking up, meaning customers are actually going into the chatbots and then asking these contextual questions so that they can get more synthesized answers. So that is growing. It will, my intuition, at least what I envision is AI search becomes another dominant channel for customers to do it. But in the foreseeable future, AI search and AI browse, I don't think it's going to go away because there is a lot, it takes a lot for us to a user behavior to change. And it
Yeah.
also takes LLMs also have to come up with the better way of because they're also learning, they're also changing, they're also improving, right? So it will take some time for it to be in such a seamless experience that what we experience in the browse is going to show up on the chatbot. So yes, chatbots are going to be becoming more and more, and we see actual growth is in especially double-digit numbers in like a week over week or month over month. It is increasing significantly, but it will take time for it to come.
Mm.
From users' perspective, I unless you're an established brand, I don't think they'll start with the app. For example, they don't go to the Gap app or they don't go to the Gap website unless you are like a loyal customer and you purchased a lot for a long time and you're a big fan of the brand, right? So they usually go to either a browse or to start with the browse or start with the chat the chatbots, right? So sorry, AI chats, and then they will migrate to from there to either it could be agentic commerce or maybe just click on the cited source and then they'll go to the website and then they will kind of purchase that experience. So from a discovery standpoint, the browse search, natural search is still the biggest dominant way how we are getting traffic. AI is is very small, but it is increasing. And we have to be there. For example, from a gap perspective, we can't ignore that because the more we ignore it, the more we'll become invisible. If we don't pay attention to this, it's almost like being on a Google search page five. Like who
Mm.
goes to page five on Google search, right? So that's if we're
Exactly.
not there, we are lost. So
Yep.
we have to be there, but it's not there yet to be like a biggest impact in terms of the traffic.
Makes sense. And I think at some point in time, if the search or the user entry point shift towards the chat, which is the conversational AI within AI, within the AI domain, the customer relationship also becomes a very important point, right? Because once the customer is on a specific website, that particular brand or retail owner manages that relationship with the customer. But if the customer is coming from or is being transferred through agents such as ChatGPT or Perplexity, etc., then the relationship management, how do you think that will happen? Like, who is going to manage the customer expectation and relationship in the future? And
Yeah.
how is that going to transition look like?
Yeah. So that's an interesting question. I have been thinking about this for a while. Like, how does it's if AI chatbots, you can do the entire customer journey there. Like, why would anyone go to the website at all? Right. So my sense is, I think we still this is an evolving space. We actually, I don't know yet. Meaning, it will take some time for us to actually understand what's happening in the space and how does the user behavior change how does let's say OpenAI or Perplexity kind of pass on which information they're going to pass on to us from a purchasing to the customer, right? So there is a lot to be learned, a lot to evolve in this space,
Yep.
and how do they even monetize it? Meaning OpenAI might monetize a lot of these transactions that are happening. I don't think they're charging now, but they might charge in the future, saying that hey, every
Of
time a
course. Yeah.
customer purchases it, they will charge it. So in that transaction, can we ask for customer information so that we can target that customer better, right? So those are some of the things that we don't know. What we know for sure is that we cannot ignore this channel, meaning
Yep.
we have to be there in the channel. So we just have to understand how this evolves in the future and how does what information can we get from these chatbots, from especially from a customer relationship standpoint. That's that's a TBD to me. I think we have to wait and see how things evolve, and then we need to address those specifically, how to get customer relationship managed.
Makes sense.
Yeah,
From here, I would like to transition more towards the core business aspects of retail.
yeah,
Harish, you have spent so much time kind of optimizing and building such platforms at multiple organizations. But when it comes to retail, right? I mean, retail is a very tight margin business. It really depends on how you are able to cost effectively move the product and make it available to the customer. I know probably the margins are going to squeeze more and more Number one, because of multiple geopolitical conditions, tariffs, etc. Second, also, I think the spend on the conversational AI will continue to go up, where you would have to place ads. I don't know if they are ads or not, but like some kind of placement has to be done uh, uh, with the LLM models so that the traffic is diverted back to the website. So in this entire world where the margins are getting squeezed a lot, what are some of the core uh, supply chain levers that you think are ready to be pulled in an effective manner that can give you that enough cushion of increasing margins, yet at the same time, letting of the pressure go from the overall supply chain in general?
Yeah. So that's a good question, Nikhil. The way I think about this space is I've been spending time on both on the supply chain side, as you know, especially from Wayfair perspective, and then also at Gap on the front end side. So I kind of have a view of what the from an end-to-end perspective, and also looking at Gap's AI strategy. There is a lot we can do to improve that margins and not worry about whether we're gonna have to mark down some of the products, right? So let's take from an end-to-end customer journey perspective. The first thing that we have to do is to ensure the products, the high-selling products, more trendy products, are more visible to the customers, right? So
Hmm.
there are obviously multiple ways you can do that, especially in the chatbot when someone types it up, it kind of shows up. On the browse side, you can do that. So making sure that the our brand is visible based on the trends, based on the age, based on the geography. That's going to be the number one to generate more interest, more incoming traffic to that one. So that's something that you could do. The second thing that you could do is, especially from a product to market fit, especially when you come up with, hey, what products do we have uh, uh, to to generate or to create, right? Especially when it's a product I'm talking about, like the pants and the jeans and different trendy products that you wanted to build. Traditionally, billions of dollars get locked into that space because it takes time, meaning you have to understand the trends, you have to create the designs, you have to create the mood boards, you have to talk to the merchandising, and then they have to generate, like create the product and get it onto the shelf. You can imagine that the product life cycle, it takes probably months and then before product shows up on the shelf, because given the trends are so fast, that be out of trend before it kind of shows up if it's too late, right? So what do you do then? You're gonna mark down those products, you're gonna sell at a lower margin, right? So to eliminate that, what we're doing is we're like, this is where we are kind of reinventing with the AI, essentially speed that product to market development and the workflows, meaning let's use the AI to get the latest trends. Let's use the agents to create the mood boards, and let's use the AI to do the presentation to merchandising, right? And then so if you kind of eliminate that, minimize that product life cycle, you can get the products onto the shelf from idea onto the shelf in a significantly less manner. So if you do that, you don't have to do the markdowns because it's in the trendy time frame and people wants to buy it, so you can move the products off the shelf much more faster. So that's where there is a huge opportunity where AI can help, right? So that's how you're kind of protect your margins, potentially even increase your margins, because if you're the only one who have it, you can probably, right, you can based on the
It's basically
uh,
first to the market, and then you can capture that trend as well in that
there
sense.
you
Yeah.
go, right? So that's another area that I think we can use AI to protect the margins. The third areas I would think about is the inventory positioning. You obviously know there is a whole bunch of uh, uh, work that we have done at Wayfair, and then we're also doing it at Gap. Is that inventory position becomes very critical for these areas, especially for example, if you're at college location, like if there is a college campus, or if you're near a college, you need to have a set of sizes available for that specific location. If you're in a suburban area that is outside of that, like if you're in a mall, so you need to have a certain sizes available. So you need to have that understanding of using the AI, what you can do is you can come up with a really unique inventory positioning uh, uh, opportunities to put the right sizes, right products in the right location. By doing that, people don't go into stores and not have the specific sizes, and they get disappointed and they just move on. They will not probably come back again, right? So those are some of the areas where what you can do. The last thing I would also think about is, especially in the customer checkout space, sometimes what happens is there is a lot of false positives on the customer like trying to check out, and the false positives come in and the transaction gets declined. So when that happens, customer loses that they gets disappointed and they'll probably never come back for that, right? So we're using the AI, minimizing these false positives so that the customer accounts don't get customer transactions don't get declined, and then that will also help us improve for that. So if you look at it from an end-to-end journey perspective, all the way from discovery to making the product to market faster, and then ensuring the inventory positioning is accurate, and also making sure that the transactions go through. All this kind of helps the protect the margins, right? So that we are relevant for the most part of that trend.
No, that makes sense. And for the false positive, can you elaborate a little bit more? Is it like fraud-related false positives where you're declining the card, or you're
Yes.
referring to
Yeah. Yeah.
something else?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So this is more like uh, when a customer buys a product and we obviously work with the third parties, and then what we flag them is says, hey, the third party flags it as, hey, it's a false. It's like it feels like there is a that there is fraud going on, and then they flag it, and then we decline it. So what we have seen is with the introducing the AI is actually doing a much better job of not flagging them as a false positive, and then so that the transaction happens clearly. So that's something I thought we already solved it a long time, but it feels like it is still a problem for some of these retailers. So that's something that AI could help us.
Okay, that absolutely makes sense. So, Harish, I think taking from that conversation that we had, could you also share what are some of the uh, key areas that you have noticed about cart abandonment? I think that's a very big problem for retail, and a lot of customers do that. From your data, from your insights, could you share anything that would be useful for the viewers and readers?
Yeah, for sure. One other thing that actually two things that I have seen that impacts the cart abandonment, especially from a retail perspective. What I have seen is the customer experience has to be frictionless, meaning the checkout has to be frictionless. And if that's not frictionless, they will abandon it. One of the examples that I have seen, where we, at least from a data perspective, where we have seen customers log in, there's a lot of promotion, they log in, they apply the promotion, the math doesn't add up, meaning they
Hmm.
say, hey, it's a 30% promotion, 30% off. But when you look at the math, it's not giving me, it's only giving me 10% off, right? And then they'll be like, they lose their trust with that calculation, and then they'll abandon that checkout. So that's one thing that we have seen. The second thing I have seen is, especially when you apply the loyalty points, and then you see that, hey, for this much loyalty points you can actually get this much, and then they will say apply for that loyalty, and then it doesn't kind of show up in the exact same fashion, right? So some of those minor things, especially these are like the backend systems, and we should be able to make it even more seamless, more transparent. That's when they start to abandon it, right? And the last one also, which I have seen, which we talked about earlier, is about this false positives on the fraud transaction. So they log in, they go through the entire process, they pay for it, and then they said, hey, your account is declined, or your card is declined, or we cannot transact, this is flagged as something, right? So that message kind of gives us a very sour taste in the customer's experience, and then they'll just abandon the cart. And then sometimes it also impacts the overall customer lifetime value, because they said, hey, I logged in and then I am using my card and it got declined, right? But at the end of the day, the checkout experience has to be very seamless. Otherwise, I mean, you're getting the customer all the way to the checkout is a huge lift. And if you can't make that checkout experience frictionless, that's where I have seen abandonments a lot in terms of the data.
Okay, makes sense. And I think what you just stated, I think if I could restate, it's basically saying that, the cognitive load on the customer should be minimum. The math should be simple for the customer to understand.
Yep.
Process should be seamless. And I think in terms overall tying it back to the conversation, AI probably could help us kind of make that cognitive load reduce on the customer. At the same time, have all the relevant information present that helps them make the decision at the last moment when they're on the cart page, basically.
Yep. Correct. Yep.
Makes sense. Okay.
Summarized well.
Now, basically shifting gears from here, moving back into building modular AIs and building those tools. Uh, First, I would like to understand from your perspective,
Yep.
your thoughts, how it should be approached in terms of modular builds. Second, what is a good strategy for an organization of, let's say, gap size, from build versus buy versus hybrid, and how should one decide? So again, it's a loaded question, but let's start with the first one. How do you decide with the modular approach of building agentic AI? What is your framework specifically?
So from an let's talk about yeah. So I was going to say let's talk about gap, but I think you're asking for in general what's the framework, right? I think the framework build versus buy depends on the company position. For example, let me give you a specific example, especially for a gap, right? Let's take gap. There is a specific reason why we chose to go buy a lot of these products. And one of the reasons that we chose to go and buy a lot of these products is, or do the integration piece is, this space is moving so fast. And if you say, oh, I'm going to go build this quote unquote LLM or this specific product using AI technology, it will probably take anywhere between 12 to 18 months. By that 12 to 18 months, you do the build the product, you do the UAT testing, you do the integration, you launch it. It's 18 months, 12 to 18 months. And I can only imagine in that 18 months how much has changed from a technology standpoint. And then you're kind of holding something that may not make sense for you. And then you have to redo this again, right? So the strategy that we are going for, especially for Gap, is that, hey, instead of building our own, let's make sure that we have the right foundation. The foundation is make sure we have the data, make sure you have the integration piece ready, right? Once you have those, then we can work with different technologies to do this integration and come to the business outcomes faster, right? So the core secret for us is the data and the integration layer. And then everything else on top of that is, hey, we're going to integrate today to this application or AI. In the next 6 months, it changes, and then we kind of switch to next AI, next more advanced AI application. Then if it doesn't work, and then we're going to switch it, right? So that's the strategy that we kind of aligned on. It just works for Gap. So because traditional, obviously, Gap is a retail company. It's not like a full-blown tech company with tens and thousands of engineers who can kind of work on this. It will take time for Gap to kind of come up with a more modular, sorry, a more working model for from an LLM or an AI application perspective will take time. So that's the reason why we chose. But if you take other companies, non-retail companies like a pure tech companies, obviously it makes a lot of sense for them because they have the depth in technology to launch some of these LLMs for that. So that's the reason why we especially from Gap perspective, the way we chose is to go down that path.
And I think it makes sense as well because you have the opportunity if you have speed as an advantage to be able to launch a product, you can
Yeah,
test the market fit very quickly and then you can adapt and build specific integrations if required, or go back to the parent company and ask for specific changes to be made on top of the actual product that is available.
correct. Yeah, and then
Yeah.
the way we went down is that we have like core tenant principles. Like the core tenants are one is we want to be model agnostic because obviously, as you know, today OpenAI is leading. Tomorrow it could be Cloud. Day after tomorrow it's going to be let's say Gemini, right? So there is a whole bunch of things. So everything is kind of coming up. So our tenant is it's going to be model agnostic. That's one thing. The second thing is everything that we do within Gap has to have an element of AI data, meaning we need to make sure that it's available, make sure that we have right amount of information stored. So that's the data is the second thing. The third thing that we're using is we're making sure that we have a platform, meaning the platform we chose is, I'm sure you heard about this, that we signed up with GCP. That's going to be the infrastructure platform that we're going to be using, and then we're going to use BigQuery. So we are standardizing in the platform, but not on the model, right? So we have the data, we have the platform, we have the model, and then the fourth tenet is we have to build this in a modular way so that we can do the integrations much faster. So the integrations is going to be the main key. So we spend a lot of time. I'm sure you remember we did these omni-channel integrations at Wayfair, where it's like the integration layer that kind of connects everything else within the
Yep.
supply chain, right? So same thing. We need to have this integration piece, and we want to build it such a way that it becomes easier for us to integrate with any third-party application. So those are the tenants that we go for, and then everything else has to fit into that, especially from an AI strategy standpoint. That has to fit into that space.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think we are almost at time, so I would like to thank you, Harish, for joining us. I think this was a great conversation, great insights. I think you shared some of the core recipes from Gap as well, which I think the readers and the viewers will enjoy as well. So again, thank you so much for joining and appreciate your time, and thank you for being part of Silk Road Nexus.
Awesome. Thanks, Nikhil. I know you're doing a great job here, getting all these different perspectives. So I'm a subscriber. So if anyone listening, please subscribe to Nikhil's podcast. So a lot's going on here. So appreciate doing this and having me on the podcast.
Thank you, Harish.
Awesome.